Hi, this is Jeremy Katz for Ogilvy Do. I'm here with Bob Lord, the Chief Executive Officer of AOL Networks. He's just come off of a panel at today's Verge 2013, and it was all about how the shift is happening in television and in networks as a whole. Bob, you said something fascinating at the beginning of that session about the way that we need to stop thinking about privacy, especially with the way the new generation is coming up, as being such an issue. Can you expand on that a little bit for us?
Yeah, so, listen, everyone is sort of talking about cookieless world and what that means and privacy and how do we protect people's privacy. And I think we sort of have to look at the new generation and actually even look towards China and how people actually give their information because there's a huge value exchange. So I think the challenge for brands and advertisers is as long as we're giving our consumers a value exchange, privacy really goes out of the window. And honestly, quite honestly, technology, because of IP addresses and how we're going to be able to track smartphones, we're going to be able, even in a cookieless environment, understand people's behaviors in ways that we've never been able to do before. We're going to be able to understand tribe-like behaviors where before we could only actually track a cookie. So I think both the conversation around privacy is sort of just a non-issue as we look towards the future around consumer behavior and how technology is going to be able to track behavior in a very different way.
So we're pushing out a huge amount of data as individuals, and networks and brands are able to capture that data. Is there an ownership issue of who owns the data that we produce?
Yeah, I think we could debate that on and on of who actually owns it, who doesn't own it. But the reality is, as a consumer, when you actually download an app, you are giving that brand ownership of the data and the interaction that you have. So implicitly, by committing to Starbucks to use their payment system, you're giving them the right to use your information in a unique and different way, in any way that they want. So implicitly you know that. But the value exchange I get from that Starbucks application is phenomenal, so therefore I don't mind giving them my information.
So that's definitely true of people like you mentioned, your 13-year-old
yes,
son,
yes,
and I have a 13-year-old son too,
yep.
And he'll give his data to
right.
anybody. Is that also true of the generation that we're a part of, or is that something that's being pushed down more to younger kids?
Yeah, I think it's in our generation we're just a lot more suspicious about what people are going to use with the data. And I think there's a lot of rumors out there of how the data can be misused. I think you have to look at it the other way and look at the positive nature of it. So as a consumer of a Ford Motor Company and having a Ford, what kind of information do they provide me? They now provide me alerts of when I have to get my car serviced. They actually tell me when my lease is coming up. I will give them a lot of information around me because of that value exchange they're giving me. And I think it's just a generational thing where we have to get over it.
Is there an additional value that you see coming down the pike that hasn't yet hit to the consumer's hands yet?
Yeah, no, actually, well, the whole idea of contextual advertising and contextual notifications. Mm-hmm. So the idea that you and we're in New York right now, but there's a pair of guys talking in San Francisco, serving us the most relevant information for where we are in context, whether it's cold here or whether it's raining in San Francisco or vice versa, or that the Red Sox just won the World Series. Those kinds of contextual sort of cues and giving us information on our smartphone or on our tablet really is something I think people are going to really respond very well to.
So the augmented life is the only one worth living right now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and then, you start talking about wearable devices and sort of the information that we can use as advertisers is just a phenomenal, I think it's a treasure trove that we just haven't even gotten to yet.
And one final question, and then I'll let you go, which is, what's the place of the network? Be it an AOL-type network, a CNN-type network, or a network like Pivot in this kind of ecosystem? Yeah,
so, I think the most important thing that the networks can do is to entertain those tribes. Okay, because all the information we have around these audiences is really going to be very important. It is going to be an interesting piece when you start talking about the programming that we do based for those tribes. So when you think about the Games of Thrones tribe and who that is, they like a particular content versus I would suggest House of Cards, or I would say Desperate Housewives. And understanding what kind of content is going to play to those tribes is something I think that the networks have a responsibility to do, where they're complex character, they're deep characters, they're entertaining characters. So those tribes are entertained, and then therefore the advertisers are going to sponsor that kind of content in order to get to those tribes.
So creativity for networks is more important than ever.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you very much for your time.
Great.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, great. This is Ogilvy Do. Thanks so much.